What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Throwing Tantrums podcast. Still sticking around.
Do we have to censor that?
No.
Okay.
Cool. Oh, I've been doing this.
Oh no, we've been doing like the tea.
Yeah, because it was.
Let's just get right onto it. A retreat. It's been a month since. Yeah, I do it for real. Like a little over a month since retreat. Right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes.
and certain things that I am enjoying are the mini inside jokes that we do outside of us. Like yesterday, the whole friendship never ends thing. Friendship never ends. I'm like, it's like no.
Just over and over.
Yeah,
We'll go into that emotional trauma later.
yeah. So I appreciate and even this fucking thing you guys do. I'm like, it's because it's funny because it's like there's things I've done retreats before, and it's the hype often just ends there at the retreat, and then people just go back to doing whatever.
Or they break up into their own little squads and stuff like that, where they're comfortable, or they. In previous retreats, everyone just gets really drunk, or they're on drugs, which is totally fine. And then everyone just sits up and has these one-on-ones with each other.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what normally happens at the retreats that I've been to.
They're really inebriated, but they have the deep talks
Yes.
while under the influence.
Yes, exactly. And then it's another version of bonding,
Unless you're like me, where I've been on leadership for all of these retreats that I've been on with all of my crews, which I will not name.
Credits are in the beginning.
And then you're just someone punched a hole in the wall at this Airbnb, so now we have to get sued for that. Or
everyone drew Sharpie at each other and they fell asleep, and then they got that on the sheets or the pillows or the wall.
So mine, actually, that's funny. We had one where this guy was shirtless. He had his pants on, but he was shirtless, and he was obviously a little inebriated. And they drew inappropriate things on this person all over his body. And he was rolled over, fell asleep, and they drew more. And I was like, ha ha ha. But it was a leather couch. And it was not a black leather couch. So all of it stuck onto the leather couch. And that was the same house that they punched a hole in the wall.
No!
Oh my
God.
God.
We broke, not we, but someone else, broke the coat hanger and the toilet paper roll handle thing and something else. And $10,000 being sued later. That's not fun to deal with. So I was like, okay, let's not let this retreat be one of those retreats. Let's make it a good one where it's happy and no suing, no lawyers.
No lawyers.
I just want a good, nice retreat where we actually bond and don't just be let's just get
fucked up.
Yeah, I didn't want that. So yeah.
I never encouraged that at
No.
any of the retreats I led. Here's the thing. Some of the retreats I did, Friday night was usually where they got fucked up. Saturday was when it was chill, where did all the retreat activities. Saturday night continues getting fucked up.
Yeah.
So this one is kind of and I'm glad that we talked about it in the beginning, that this is a retreat, not a getaway.
Not a party.
Yeah. Establishing that intention in the beginning, and I loved it in the beginning. I love that you brought the games, because that
was fun. Yeah.
felt like such a good family bonding moment. It was so seeing that footage and seeing everything.
What was the one game you brought where we had to roll the dice, a letter popped up, and we have to fill out
Categories.
Categories.
That was fun.
Categories are so much fun.
That was
Categories.
interesting.
Everybody in the beginning, I was like, I'm gonna play categories. Anybody else? And there was one or two people that were like, yeah, I'll play.
And then you got.
And then as people were going on, they're like, I've never heard of this game. I don't know what it is. And I was like, okay. After the second or third games, they were like, can I play? I want to play. And all of a sudden there was 10 people, and they were like, I got Adam. And then Apple, and I was like, now who's into it? Now who's into this game? So, oh, I was like, are you choking?
I'm very reactive.
Stay filming.
He is.
When I eat food, I'm very reactive, and it's good. I
Yes.
have a food wars moment.
Yes.
Speaking of food, side note,
Today's podcast sponsored by
Cat's Bakery. Kat, please tell us what this delectable dish is.
It is tres leches cake. It's my very first time making it.
Tres leches.
Which means
What is
Three
it?
milks.
3 milks.
3 milks.
And I'm lactose.
Same.
Oh my god, that's right.
Oh no! Well,
This is also
me
sponsored.
too. But look what happened here.
Oh,
I
This-
felt like a crap ton because I didn't know how many people were coming, so there's like 6 more in my bag. So I'm like, they
I
have takeaways.
volunteers tribute to take them.
Yeah, me too. Me
They have
too.
to take them home.
this is also sponsored by Charmin toilet paper.
And lactate.
Or if you can't afford lactate, the off-brand works just as great.
What's the
Mhm.
off-brand?
Well, Target's good and gather.
Oh.
We do like Target brand.
We love
Yeah.
Target.
brand has
Yo, that
really...
shit's good. Like, it's less expensive
Mhm.
and it tastes just the fucking same.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Bakery
Okay.
on a
So if you
budget.
see us eating them, sorry.
Yeah.
It's
Bakery
just
on a budget, y'all.
delicious.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Retreat. What were we talking about?
Retreat. So, yeah, we just had a lot of bonding moments, and it was actually what we intended to do, which is great. Not that we were like, no, you will not have fun. We definitely had fun. It was just structured.
It was
Yes.
very wholesome fun.
Yeah,
Not like get crazy drunk and stupid and
yeah, like getting drunk is fun.
yeah.
Cool. But do you bond, like Lauren said, with everyone? Or are you just like that one drunk moment where you're like, I love you, man.
Yeah.
You got like this. And I never had a friend like you. You know, it's like, is it one of those moments? Sure, you bonded with one person, but there's like 20 people here.
Yeah.
So,
And
know.
also going off of that, when you are having those bonding moments under the influence, how often do you remember them?
oh,
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And if you do remember it, you're typically the other person that was like, dude, you were so drunk.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not the person who spoke, it's the person who was just like,
It's
Yeah.
typically
Like,
me because
uh,
I've never been drunk before, actually.
Mhm.
Never been drunk, never been high, never been really. I've been tipsy, and that's most. But like one of my friends
Oh my
at
God.
their birthday
Brandon.
party, one of their friends, one of my best friends, he's very stoic and closed off. He's just like shows care and love in different ways. But when he's drunk, he's like, "I love you, Kyla. I love you, Ishmael. I love you, brother."
yeah, I don't.
He hates his brother, but no, I'm kidding.
Okay.
No, but so it was like seeing people get drunk and like being like that, and like no one really got drunk at the party, but it was still fun watching everyone be like less inebriated.
Inebriated, uh-huh.
Maybe, yeah, words. So it was like this, I was like, this
Yeah.
is fun to watch, but also it's like, this is nice.
Yeah, I think, like you said, there was a lot less of like the, you know, one of
Oh,
those
yeah.
like, because
Yeah.
we've all been there, whether it's at a retreat or not, where
Yeah.
you're stuck, where the person is pouring themselves out to you and you're not on that level of drunkenness or
Yes.
whatever, just a substance of
Or-
anything, and you're just like, oh, and they're just like, but honestly, man, I just, and you're just like, okay, no. You know, I always think of white chicks,
Affection.
or when the girl is like,
Mhm.
they're like taking care of her in the bathroom, and she's like,
Mhm.
you guys are my best friends,
Yeah.
and she's like throwing up, and then she's like touching her hair.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I love you. Like, I always think of that. No, we didn't have those moments. We had very meaningful, intimate things. Let's kind of do a rundown. So, starting off, we were like, okay, let's not just go heavy into emotions, because what are those? The other one of the day, emotions. Wait, can we do that? Which way would it be if I did emotions?
For what?
Would it come this way or far this way or here?
Yeah, whatever your hand
Emotions.
is, yeah, it'll pop up right here.
What are those? We said, let's go have fun. So we said, look, break up into groups. I broke everybody up. And I said, let's do choreography challenge. And they're like, what? Okay. The challenge was I chose 4 pretty popular songs from back in the day. And each group had to choreograph this song. I don't care how, where, what. You work together to make it happen. And we gave them about, what, half an hour?
Like 20
20 minutes.
5
20 minutes.
25 minutes.
25
20. You said 20, but then you gave us like an extra 5.
That's
Oh,
true.
there you go,
Yeah.
25 minutes.
So we gave them 25 minutes to do whatever they had to do. So I'm like, okay, these are major songs. They have choreography. Everybody's just gonna go to the film, the music video. Remember what those are? Music videos, and just be like, okay, this is the first 8 count or 2. Let's do it. It's gonna go here, 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 and then it was NSYNC,
Spice Girls.
Spice Girls,
Destiny's Child.
Destiny's Child, and
Pussycat Dolls.
Pussycat Dolls,
Ooh.
right? Major people, major things. So I'm like, everybody knows these songs. You know what you're gonna do. I broke them up into groups, and then when people came back, I was like, all right, we're gonna go inside. And one group was like, actually, no, ours is outside on the bridge. And I was like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
wait, your choreography's on the wood bridge outside of the cabin? And they're like, yeah. I was like, I mean, I didn't say you can't, so sure, let's do that. So then I'm thinking it was Survivor. I'm thinking they're gonna use the couches and be all like do 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 and come out of the curtains and closets and things like that. And I was like, that'll be funny and fun, easy. But no, they went to the bridge and they did the Survivor on the whole wood part, which was really cool.
Definitely use their surroundings to their advantage.
Yes,
Yeah.
we had the Spice Girls.
Mhm.
They had the loft upstairs in one of the cabins, and they did choreography on the stairs. They did stereography on the stairs, and then did a whole thing from like the top of the loft to the stairs
To the
to the
whole-
bottom on the second floor.
To
I was just like,
yes.
what? But it was amazing. It was actually, I mean, and it had transitions
Mm-hmm.
and levels and formations. I was just like, what? What happens here? I mean, but it's great. The third one, we had Pussycat Dolls. And I'm like, okay, I wonder what's going to happen here because there was 2 boys and a girl.
Yeah.
So I was like, we'll see how this goes. One of the boys being Joey. Insert Joey's face here.
Joey!
And Joey, it was chairography
Yes.
from the music video.
Mhm.
And Joey was like living his Pussycat Doll life. He was just like, I am Nicole Scherzinger. And I mean, just to kind of get...
You're in shot.
He was like...
Oh!
I was like, oh. And it wasn't like I don't know what I'm doing. No, Joey was like, oh, I know exactly what I'm
you're a
doing.
very
But the-
lucky woman.
But the best part was his whole body was all into it, but his
True.
face
His face just...
was deadpan the entire time.
Oh yeah.
That was his-
the signature Joey like
signature Joey face.
It was
Did-
great.
And then the last group was Sync,
Oh,
which was
hello.
Lauren.
Hi.
They gave us a mini concert.
And they
Yeah.
gave us a mini concert outside. Now,
Yeah.
granted,
The stones.
not only outside in the gravel garden,
Like, these are the
So
little
there was
rocks.
Like-
yeah.
the entire... Tell me about this.
So there was an area where it's kind of like a stage, and then there's in the center there are steps like going down to the bridge part. So when we were doing it, I was like, because I guess everyone had decided to. I didn't know if everyone decided to go somewhere, but I was like, okay, well that's the stage. Well, it's perfect because we're in sync, so we're gonna give them concert. So yes, train of thought, and and then it was actually really nice because we took the choreography from the "It's Gonna Be Me" video. It's gonna be May.
I mean,
Yeah.
at the time of
Yeah.
filming this, yeah.
Yeah, and then we gave an entire concert, and then everyone's like, woo! And then you like run off the stage, and then you crowd hype, and then you go back, and then we ended up as our puppet selves. But that was very fun. I'm very glad that you gave us the choice of like do whatever you want because the the house that we were at had such beautiful places to shoot things. Period.
The only downside with that was that we had to control our volume to anyone who's
That's true.
outside.
Yes.
Yeah, we couldn't just be as hype as we wanted
Yeah.
because there's
That's
other cabins nearby, and we didn't want to be. Like, they told us to watch our volume.
But there's videos
Exciting
coming,
golf class.
so stay tuned.
Those
Um,
videos. The individual.
Yeah.
You want me to show that?
I mean, we can, no?
Okay,
Do
I
they want
just thought
to?
it was
We
just for
could.
us. I could.
Yeah.
They could
Okay.
be.
It's
Comment
gonna be
below if you want to see that.
Yes.
Yeah, because we've already shared a lot of clips on it, but yeah,
But like the full.
the full performance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's a music video in itself.
Yeah, it's a music
Content.
Content for sure.
Okay.
Put it on Patreon. What?
So that's true, Patreon.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was the first kind of thing. I don't know. What do you guys think about that fun challenge? Question mark.
Spice Girls group.
Spice Group.
Spice Group.
Spice Rack.
The cute.
There it is.
The Spice Rack.
Spice Rack.
Spice Rack. Immediately we were like, stairs. I want these stairs. So we ran up the stairs because I was like, I just want to use these. And like we were using, because how the stairs were, it's like strips of wood coming down. So we were like reaching out through them.
Yeah, that was
sticking
cool.
our legs around them. Like it was like a mixture of like being like, and then words. It was fun because we created like really, it wasn't like intricate or like clean, sharp choreo. It was fun and happy, and like you would do it too, even if you weren't part of it. Like one of the moves I saw Brandon do in the corner, he was like zig zig ah.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I just kept seeing Brandon in the corner doing that. So it was like it's cute choreography, and like our group that we were in, it was really cool because I didn't really. This is my first retreat with Temper Tantrum. I'm one of the newbies, so I'm actually new to this troupe company entirely. Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
Welcome. Make sure to watch the Newbie podcast.
Oh yeah, I was a part of that. Yeah. So I got to really know. I knew some of them, but like one of them, like Tiffany, I didn't really know her too much besides like at auditions and just like talking to her. But this one, I really got to know her and have fun and just like got really close to her, and I really appreciated that. And I was just like, friendship never ends.
Yeah.
You're like, but seriously.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you're just
chef this one.
overall, it's just a really fun experience, and we got to be goofy. We're taking it serious. We're taking it serious to like the challenge, but we're just being like goofy. We're like, we're not gonna like hit ourselves on the back, be like, oh, we could have done this better, It's like, no, we're just here to have fun.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
like, be
it was fun to
a group.
watch. It
Yes.
showed though. That's the thing is that everybody, your intentions showed.
Yeah.
Whether that was to make us laugh or smile or perform or even choreography. Like I think the NSYNC crew, you guys had Eddie. I mean, Eddie's from my era, so like I grew up
hyped.
with these videos. I know the choreo, but I wasn't doing this. I was just helping it run. Eddie knew the choreo, like exact choreo. So it wasn't like what do we do? He was like, all right, ready? This is the choreography for the section. It's going to go 5, 6, you're going to go. And one, he knew every move, which was great. It was fantastic. But each crew, I should say, came with a different approach to the challenge. It was either exact choreo, let's incorporate props, formations, things like that, which is great, but it's also going to work against you guys because now I'm like, you got what done in 25 minutes? Now we know what we can do with you for rehearsals because there's no way that you're going to be like, I can't get it. Bullshit. You did a whole routine in 25 minutes in the gravel,
A full performance.
in the mountains. Get out of here. No.
In the mountains.
Yeah.
With
In the
the bears
mountains.
next to the river.
I was like, poor Sean, because every time he had to get on the ground, he's like, ow.
Oh,
I feel
yeah.
bad. He's
Yeah,
like,
in
ow.
the video, he's like,
I'm sorry, Sean. For someone who does like a lot of choreography or like is on their knees, like who dances and uses every part of their body, I was like, yeah, we can just go on the gravel, and I'm not the same as everyone else. Sorry, Sean. Love you, man.
Yeah, what Kat said about not knowing Tiff and then becoming friends with her, that was essentially the whole intention, at least for me, of the retreat. Like the commonality of what brought everyone together was Temper Tantrum and dance. We shared this mission, but what do we have beyond outside it? And that's what we kind of started building.
What are our other common grounds?
Yeah, because to help really start building. Stupid.
Sorry.
I just got that.
I love you.
To get the whole start building the more rich relationship with each other, and along with that, some of the activities obviously we'll get into it. It was like how you don't know a person until you've seen their worst, which is one of the reasons I kind of did some of these activities. So we'll get into that, which is why like once we see that, I guess, more vulnerable part of ourselves, it's not necessarily the worst, but more vulnerable, I would say, people. Yeah, I guess that's where the deeper connection really lays in. The fun stuff was really just to get us warmed up.
Yeah.
Get us comfortable.
So after the warm-up, we definitely went into some more in-depth things. So we went into Sean's workshop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
Sean's workshop. Fantastic.
Sean, if you haven't seen him, he's a hot guy with the long hair. And then check out the rain room. Okay.
I think Brandon thinks Sean's very drunk.
Nah, not at all.
Oh my god.
Which is totally fine. It's true.
Sean, you're a good looking guy.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
Oh my
Okay, so his workshop was pretty cool. Long story short, essentially you just kind of freestyle in front of another person. With that,
That was like one of the many parts of his workshop. Sean has like this whole workshop that he has done. The original one we started off with a cipher. It was very much like, and then what he gave us within the time span we gave him was just a small taste of the
Yeah.
whole thing, which was like very much of how do you show up to a group versus how do you show up to an individual. So with this one, he decided, just for my interpretation of it, to focus more on the individual, and along with the prompt that he shared with us as we freestyled, was like, how do we think the other person views us?
Yeah.
And that was the prompt of our freestyle for them. It was very much of a conversation, you trying to be the reflection of your reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that was the really kind of
Meta.
yeah, very meta.
Mhm.
That was the point, and it was very like aha moment, because nobody's saying anything but you, right? It wasn't like, I'm dancing, tell me what you think of me dancing. It's, I'm dancing, this is what I think that you think of me dancing. So there was really no bad person in the room other than yourself. You can't say this is what they said, this is whatever, because it's literally all here, right? So it was a really nice kind of moment, and of course this is dance related, but this could be towards anything. This just be towards life, right? Like, when you just walk around, if you're doing a job interview, or if you go with your friends or your family or whatever that is, like, what do you think that they think of you that's not said, right? It's all here. So it's a nice kind of way to approach dance and life and anything that's applicable. How did you guys feel about that? How did you guys think about that workshop? How did you feel? What did you feel? What did you think?
It was interesting because, like, I love freestyling. That's one of my things. But this was a lot more intimate.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also you getting vulnerable in front of someone you didn't really know, because we got paired up with people from the company like you don't really know too well.
Mm-hmm.
And I got paired up with Tabascos. And I knew him. We talked in passing, but we didn't really talk.
Yeah.
Didn't really connect before. But during this, like, I was watching him dance, and it was like, I've seen him dance before. He's an amazing dancer. But seeing him, like, dance right in front of me, and, like, to me, he's talking straight to me. It was beautiful, and it was like, I felt that connection to him. Like, there's no words being said, but we had a connection. And when I had to dance in front of him, I was nervous because I love freestyling, but, like, in this intimate moment, straight just to one person only, it took me a minute to get out of my head. I get stuck in my head a lot. So that was a great exercise, not only to connect with another person, but also to connect with yourself in a way that doesn't hinder you from being yourself.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that from that exercise.
I mean, I, of course, really, really enjoyed the experience. My partner was Marie, and I love Marie. She's amazing. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, having this experience, being able to focus, like, on the other person, and then also given the prompt of what do you think they see in you, was very meta. And like you said, like, having we were able to have an intimate conversation between us, but not in words, but something that feels a little bit more natural to us, which is dance. And I don't know, I feel like it helped bond us where we didn't have to talk. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where sometimes you feel you have to have, like, conversation with people to get to know them, and some people don't necessarily bond through words. Some people might bond through, spending time together, or some people can sit in the same room, not talk to each other, and then they feel like that they've grown together. And this was one way that we got to build our relationship and be vulnerable with each other without having to use words, but something that we both love, which is dance. So it was really fun.
I
I love you, Marie.
What do you
Good
think?
soup, partner. Good soup.
I mean, good soup. Me, I mean, I didn't get really participated, but it was just I was facilitating a lot of it, so seeing all the conversations happening not through words but through movement, I think, because the whole thing, a lot of our communication happens through body language. So
Wait, can I interrupt you? I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Well, you were technically Sean freestyled to
oh
you.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's
So what
right.
did you feel about that?
When Sean freestyled to me, I mean, one, I felt honored that I got to be part of the example, because then it was, I don't know, it for me, it's like, it makes sense that I get to participate a little bit before letting everyone else see it. But oh yeah, as I'm talking about it, more things are coming up, and it was just cool.
Fine.
Don't make me hug you, bro.
No hug. No hug.
But I think at one point I was just enjoying the movement he was giving, but at one point I think I was just vibing with him, just following along, and just I at one point I felt like we were in the same wavelength for a bit. Like it's this is something I do when I am at a having on a turn signal, and I watch my blinker try to match up with the person in front, and sometimes it's not matching.
Yeah,
and
and
there's
then
a
it
moment it
sinks.
sinks, and then it doesn't match, and then it sinks.
sinks.
Interesting.
Yes. So
I get what you mean.
but that's how I felt. Like there's moments I'm like, yeah,
Right there.
I'm watching, I'm watching, and then okay, I'm vibing, and he's doing a groove. It was just fun. It was fun to experience that bit of it, and then seeing everyone else go through that and kind of like share their experience, because it was for me. It was like, yes, be vulnerable with each other.
Yeah.
Oh my god, say it like that.
Bond.
Shit.
Bond. Become friends.
Yes. Molecular bonding.
Yeah, because it's like like what Lauren said. It's the conversation beyond the words, because I feel like there's so much more, and there's a lot of what us as humans we pick up on subconsciously, and not just through words, like say through the facial expressions, through our movement, and because our bodies are meant to move, not necessarily sit. So if we're using our body to communicate this kind of
I'm sorry.
No, like my thighs. I'm like my thighs are just like.
imagine that's how we talk every day. How you doing?
It's like Kermit the Frog when he's like,
But seeing everyone do that was just, I think it was magical, because I feel like how I imagine these conversations happening in my head is like there's a aura just being shared. Energy. Yeah, just energy, and then the person just receiving their power, and then becoming that person.
and then you collect all the stones,
Therefore, you become your partner,
and then we collect all the stones.
and then.
No.
Oh my god.
Uh,
That snap was not in sync, and I was like, disappointed.
because I'm the real one.
Oh.
So mine was those of you who don't know me.
Oh yeah, didn't you get partnered with?
Mel.
Melanie?
Yeah.
No, okay. By that, just to add to that story, Melanie was one of the followers on my stream who was a fan of my YouTube channel and saw a lot of the Temper Tantrum stuff and wanted to join us since the pandemic, since 2020, and then lo and behold, like she was determined. She would message me when are freaking auditions. Now she's here, and then she would always tell me on the streams that she was afraid of Brandon. Yeah,
As you should.
so when that opportunity came to partner up, I'm like, no. A lot of you guys are familiar with each other, so I was like, I broke people up, and I saw Melanie. I'm like, yes, this is your partner. So yeah,
Mel was
go
just
ahead.
like walking to her door
And I
like,
said-
Just
And
you don't
I said, smile. Don't
Don't
smile.
have.
Say it with me. Sunlight.
Sunlight.
You, one of your calves is bigger than the other.
Pour
It's a-
those comments to your ass
Before it gets so large, it creates its own website. Sorry. Bring it on reference.
Oh
Uh,
cheerleaders.
I'm a choreographer. That's what I do. You're cheerleaders. Cheerleaders are dancers who have gone.
my god! We got just
We lost a member. We lost a member.
Oh my
god.
Say it with me. Sunlight.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
Moving on.
Dying.
So I am a very loving person to people. I struggle with accepting love And however that may look, whether that's like, hey, I just love you. I'm like, oh, why are you hugging me? That's weird. Or if people are just like, hey, I love you. I'm like, love you.
Thank you.
It's like, yeah, I'm just
I
like,
love you. Thanks.
Thanks, bro.
thank
See
you.
ya.
So I know that's a problem of mine. I've realized it as I get older. I just struggle with it. It's something I struggle with. I know why. I know a lot of people don't know why. So that's something I tend to keep to myself. It's very intimate, but I was like, you know what? If I'm going to be one of the directors on this team, I got to set the example. So I became very, very, very vulnerable. And through my dance, I told my story of why. So everybody was very like, oh, I'm a freestyle and I'm talking the conversation. I'm like, okay, that's not going to be me. I'm going to tell a story. And I hope she understands what I'm saying through dance without being super cheesy of like, I want coffee. Like, you know, hopefully it's not,
Like the literal,
That was amazing.
you know, like, I hope it's not like that. So I was like, I
A
hope
dance
this isn't stupid,
transcription.
but I'm going to try. So I danced and I told a story about an ex of mine that I dated years ago that changed me. I feel very like, changed, like we're wicked. I am changed.
Get out.
For good. Yeah, it changed me. It was a very, 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 very rough relationship. Mentally, physically, spiritually abusive person to me. And I dealt with it. And I was just like, okay, this is my thing. No one else is going to really have to deal with this because they don't have to. This is my thing. So it was rough and I struggled with it. But it changed me in how I approach not only relationships with like, you know, someone I'm dating, but just in general. I'm just like, okay, I keep everybody at like a arm's distance. I'm like, okay. So I think for sure that's kind of why I am the way I am. And I was like, I hope you understand this. After I finished everything, and she even said, look, I've seen you dance. I know who you are. I know what you can do. And it was really weird to see you freestyle looking down for like 80% of that time because that's not who you are. Like usually you're out and you're portraying everything and you're doing everything, but you were very here. And she's like, until the end, you kind of looked at me. She's like, but it felt more like a check-in. Like, like, you know, when you do something and then you look at someone like,
Validate me.
do you know what I'm saying? You know?
Yeah.
So she actually got it. She said, you know, I feel like you were telling me a story about someone you dated because at the end of it, you like walked away and it felt better. Like it felt like a release, you know? And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I was doing. So it was really weird for me to be that vulnerable, especially to someone that I don't know, especially to someone who held me at such a high, you know, esteem that I was like, oh, I got to show you like a dark side of me. I have to show you like a broken side of me that I was like, so it was really weird. It was very, very, I don't know. I felt like I grew for sure. And because we had to talk about it after to everyone, I was like, let me just tell my story.
Yeah.
So I think everybody was kind of like, oh. And it's also really weird because I said, I don't like hugs. I don't like hugs. I don't like love. But all the younger, like little ones in the company were like, but I always hug you. And you always hug me. And I'm like, see, but there's another side note to that story is before adult teams, I directed junior teams. So I love all my babies. I call the little ones in the company's babies because they're my babies. So I'm always just like, oh, you're like my little one, my little baby. And for me, I've always have a motherly kind of protection to me. I always had to take care of people and be there for them, whether it's like, hey, I bought some snacks for you or to just talk to somebody. So that's that I'm easily like, yes, hug me because you need it. As someone younger, you need somebody who's going to be there for you. And I want to be that person. But as an adult, when people are like, hey, hug me, I'm like, okay. All right, this is nice. All right, okay, you know. So yeah, so that was a nice aha moment. So that's me. That was my experience with this.
I think that one of the things that I loved and did not expect from that exercise was was everyone sharing their story so quickly, like
Effortlessly.
Yeah, and effortlessly, and it felt like, oh, we're going on the deep end already.
Like
on
now.
on the second activity.
Yeah.
We have more.
Little do you know.
And then I think I told you, and I know I told you, a lot of the original plans for these games were changed on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, we'll talk about it, the numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
I changed. There was originally never supposed to be partners. The baby pictures was very game was very different. I changed it on the fly, and Brandon was like, "What are we doing?"
I was like, wait, what's happening? I'm confused.
Because I read it was very much a read and react. Like it's like a because I wanted to go there, but I didn't want to go there if the group dynamic wasn't there.
Yeah.
So by the second activity, I was like, "Oh, this group is ready to go there." So,
Yeah.
and then the crying shit happened. But
Crying.
yeah.
Ugh.
So,
Well, let's go there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about
The third activity.
Which
right?
one?
Yeah. So we start off. With Brendan's activity, then Sean's, and then mine for the following following three, which was the numbers game. Very easy game of just using a deck of cards. You put value. You put a value on top, and you treat that person based off the value on there, and
so like
so two would be
it's a low.
low, king, queen, and you treat them with the utmost respect. Compliments versus people with a low value. You like the way I did it with Fambiz before was to kind of like people who were on their high horses to kind of get to humble them, that kind of stuff, and then also a test of character, who really treats a person equal regarding their value. I say the rules, but I'm like, you ultimately make the decisions. I know, Kat, you had a unique experience that I've never had happen. If you would like to share.
Yeah, of course. So when he was explaining the rules of the game, I already was starting to think like, oh no. And my face even showed that. I was like, oh no. Oh no. And as they were giving the cards, I already felt my body start shaking. My eyes started watering and tearing up. And I was jokingly saying, trying to get myself out of that mode where you're like, oh, watch me get a 2, ha ha ha. But as soon as we put the values on the card, I already felt my hands started shaking really badly. And one of my group mates came, as we started the game, looked at me and was like, oh, I feel sorry for you. And I know they did not mean it in like that way, because it's just the exercise, but I immediately ran to the bathroom because I was like, I can't play this. And I was in the middle of almost having a panic attack. And Roy came and calmed me down, was just talking to me, and it was weird because I never thought I was going to react like that. I've never had a reaction that quick and that strong to an exercise or something like that before, so it just hit me hard. When we came back and we were talking about how we felt about the number or the value game, I was explaining why I reacted the way I did, and it was hard because I was still crying. I was still having trouble breathing because I was just like, it was hard for me because I grew up not having value in myself. I only gave myself value to what other people gave me. I never gave myself value. And I always make self-deprecating jokes, be like, fuck me, this is not good, I can't do this shit, as a way to cope. But on the real side of it, it's like I don't have the greatest value. I don't see myself having value, and that's where I reacted that way, because I don't want to be treated the way I did. I don't want others to be treated the way I did growing up. So just the thought of being mean to someone in that way and treating them like they had low value, I couldn't do it. And I know it was just an exercise, and I know that, I know that you guys talk to me, it's like, it's not stupid to have the reaction, it's not stupid to have a trigger like that. Because at first I was embarrassed because I was like, no one else reacted this way. No one else had this kind of reaction. Like, why can I handle it? But Lauren, Jamie, they all like reassured me, like, yes, my emotions are valid. Also, I grew up like saying emotions are valid for everyone but me.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So a lot of times, like, I also very bad self-esteem about like my body image and all that, and be like, you can look whatever way you want and you're beautiful. I have to look a certain way to be beautiful. So that's something I still deal with and I'm still working on. So like, just the thought of treating someone with a low value I couldn't play the game.
Yeah.
I just couldn't.
Yeah, and that's totally understandable. And I think it was a great example of triggers, right? Like triggers and things that you don't know why or how, because you didn't expect that to happen. You're like, wait, I don't even understand why this is happening to me, but it's happening to me. So it's like, I think as we go through life, you experience things and you come across things that set off a trigger. And I think as your due diligence is to figure out why, is to dig deeper. Okay, that's a soft spot. Why is that a soft spot? Okay, let's see. Oh, it might be connected to blank and blank and blank, and then really kind of address those things. Like I said, I'm super stubborn. At times can be like, nope, nah, I'm not going to do this because I don't like digging into my emotions, but I had to dig into my emotions to actually say like what I said about my trauma, right? It took me years, like at least 5+ years, to even verbally out loud say, I was physically abused. I was emotionally abused. Because I'm like, that's not what emotional abuse is, right? Although I did have like a bruise on my arm when I got thrown against the wall, like that's not physical abuse because it wasn't like a punch, right? So it's like coming to terms with what it is a totally different thing, and speaking it out loud is a totally different thing. So first off, props to you, for acknowledging that and saying it, because you could have just been like, I'm done, goodbye, I don't want to talk to anybody, I'm shutting down. But you came back, and even right now you said like, look, I was still crying, but I was talking about why you left. That's like growth in itself, you know what I'm saying? So it takes somebody who's strong enough to actually say, this is this. I'm gonna call it what it is, and I'm gonna say it out loud in front of people, to really show who you are. So props on that to you.
And to add to that, on a facilitator standpoint, as like some people, well, first off, I acknowledge that I appreciate your honesty and where you were, and then how you didn't want to participate, and it was cool. And then I gave you the option, like, okay, if you want to play the next round, it's fine. Whether you do it or not, just where you are is perfect. It's simply a reflection of where you are, and it's not right or wrong. It's just perfect. And then gave you the option to come back or not. And I know some people who, at least from my past experience, some people would try to force people back into the game, and that would just make it worse. I feel like. So I gave Kat that option, and then when you did right?
Yeah.
Decided to come back in, and I give you a lot of props for that, because going from that, addressing that trigger and feeling, and then deciding to come back in and just to play the game and continue with us is just. I find that courageous, and I think that a lot of people misunderstand what bravery or courage is the lack of fear, which is more it's embracing it and just going with it. And then a lot of the purpose of my games are about experiential, very much self-reflection. You learn more about yourself the deeper you let yourself go. So if it's surface level, you only learn about yourself in a surface level. You go deep, you learn more about yourself in a deep level. So, and,
I was going to connect to the next one.
Yeah.
Which goes into the next one, really, the last kind of activity. So, RuPaul, thanks. Essentially, you just get a picture of your baby self, and you just say, like, let's just say I had a picture of Lauren. I would say, Lauren, this is Lauren, baby Lauren. Lauren, what would you say to your 3-year-old self here? What would be your advice? And then Lauren would just be like, well, blah, 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 blah. We changed it up a little bit, and you chose partners, and then you held the person's picture in front of you, right? So if I had Lauren, I'd hold Lauren, and she would hold mine. And then she would talk to only Lauren, I'm not here, and I would talk to only little baby Brandon, little ugly baby Brandon, not here. So, and then you go from there.
That's where we made literally right after values, I told Brandon we have partners for the rest of the day. So, and then, like how we switched it up to just, instead of group, it became a much more intimate place. So the partners we gave during Sean's activities served a purpose throughout the whole thing. Because most of the time, like, oh, here's your partner. Okay, you forget about your partner the rest of the day. Or you're forced to like, oh, go have lunch with your partner, but you haven't done any other games with your partner. So with this, value it helped because just to go back to value, we did the same thing, but when someone tried to say something mean or nice to you, your partner validated you. Your partner had your back, and it's kind of that whole like thing of like, no matter what, you don't have to be alone hearing these things. You still have value. But going to the baby picture game, we switched it up to give more purpose for the partner. Where, for me, I envisioned it very much like in the relationships of all sorts. Sometimes we don't need to talk. We just need to hold the space. We just need to be the ones there for them, and then that's why the partners hold it. And that sometimes, in relationships, we just have to be the ones that take it in, and so that way they can let it out. So we held the baby photo. We had them. I was playing some sad music shit to really help the help the. No, I was avoiding all that stuff. Like, we would have 1 minute to stare at the photo and reflect, because there's something to be said about just being present with it and not having to say anything, and just looking at yourself, and then letting that 1 minute become a potential of your whole past going into your head, and then you verbalizing it out.
Meta.
Yeah. So
Can we do this
Very
whenever we say
meta.
meta?
this is like John Cena.
Yeah. John Cena is one
John
hand.
Cena is the one
like
hand.
double
And then meta is
Let's
two.
do both. Let's go front. Meta. So I also don't like my own emotions. I like making other people feel emotional, but for myself, I'm like, no. So if you guys ever seen Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, I always say I'm the cop because he's always just like, almost makes a grown man cry, but not this grown man. Get back in there, teardrop, and he goes, and then the teardrop goes, and back. That's me. That's literally me. Insert clip here.
Oh my God. Camilo
Sure.
or whoever's editing this, make sure you get those clips.
Let's start off with, what did you guys think of that one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot happening in your corner, Lauren, so tell me about it.
Really?
There was.
My goodness. Okay. So Marie was holding my photo and just looking. I was like, oh my gosh, it's me. I'm so small. And then I thought about how sometimes we're hard on ourselves and we have these like self-talks. If you've ever watched Turning Red, I think that's a great example of Mei Lin. But there are times, when you look in the mirror, or you're like, where you get critiques, or you do something, you make a mistake, and then you have this like, they're like, why did you do that? You're better than this. You're her pride and joy. Act like it. Type of moments. And seeing myself as a baby, I'm like, would I ever say that to this adorable little Lauren?
I don't know.
And I thought of myself like verbally berating my younger self.
Oh.
And that's what like hit hard, because I was like, why do I treat myself like that sometimes? Why do I say this? Why do I say that? Like, why do I hold myself to such a sometimes an impossible standard? I don't think it's not bad to be a hard worker, but you need to give yourself wins and like give yourself credit where it's due. And sometimes when we hold ourselves to such high standards, we don't do that because we're like, you could do better. You could do more. Like, why are you not doing more? And looking at myself as a child, I think that's why I started crying. And then I was like, oh no, because I was like, no one should talk to themselves like that. We would never treat each other like that. Why do we do that to ourselves?
Yeah.
And it made me reevaluate how I talk to myself and how also I show up for like other people. Verbalizing, like giving people wins like where it's due, or like recognizing and validating wherever they are at, whatever it is. So that is what came up for me.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. A lot of this I even see in movies, like somehow it always ends up being your father fought my father, now we have to fight, or like something like the whole like you hurt me as a child. I'm gonna say the Batman. It involved a childhood trauma and it's affecting them as an adult. And then very much like how I'm thinking, like how when I was doing therapy, a lot of it usually ends up being inner child work because everything is just like layer and layer and layer and layer of what we were supposed to be, expectations of us, how we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to be achieving, and everything is about like and we develop the programming that we have in our mind is based off that. The decisions we make are subconsciously from what our parents said, what our uncle said, teacher said, whatever. So we end up that their voice ends up becoming our voice, and then through like my experience in therapy is like through doing a lot of the inner child work is like who is your favorite adult, who and all that stuff, or what kind of parent would you like to be. Like you need to be the adult your inner child needs every day. Like you need to be the one that gives yourself the high five, the pat in the back. So, and then it kind of went there. Like we did. I'd say that's some inner child work stuff we did there already. But yeah, and I'd love to hear from the rest of you guys about it.
You want to go or not really?
Is there like a trigger warning that needs to be put in front of the video, or?
I would
I
say
think we've talked about, or there have been previous podcasts
Yeah,
where
we
you
do
have
we
put
do put
in,
trigger warnings.
yeah,
Yeah.
trigger warning.
Yeah, so if you're gonna go there, we'll put a trigger warning again.
you don't have to completely go there if you don't want to.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
can just do
it's
like
up
a
to
brush stroke over it, or
Yes.
just like a hey, something happened.
Yeah.
There's-
Yeah,
Go
it's up
ahead.
to you.
Like I don't mind going explaining it, and I'll explain why too. I found a picture, like I don't have any baby pictures like on hand, like digital or something, so I just sent whatever baby picture I found, which was me as maybe like 5 years old that my grandma sent me like months back, and I was like, oh hey, I can use this. And so I sent that, and my partner went first. Vasquez went first. He was looking at his photo, and me being anxious and anxiety, I always was like, okay, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna practice saying this, so I don't like stutter or like da 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 da.
Mhm.
But when it was my turn and I got the photo shown to me, all my thoughts stopped, and it was just like, oh shit, this was taken before a very traumatic event, and I never realized that. And the traumatic event, which I don't mind talking about, and the reason I'll explain again, when I was 6 years old, I was sexually assaulted by a family member, and that fucked me up for years after that. But where I am now, after like years of therapy, years of support from my friends, from my family, from the therapists, and getting to know myself, I wouldn't say I moved past it, but I've come to terms with it to the point where like I'm not letting it control me anymore like I used to. And the reason why that thought popped up when I saw the pictures, because I never really looked at my baby pictures. Like I see my baby pictures when I was like maybe 9 months, 12 months, stuff like that. But seeing a picture that I was pretty sure like this was taken right before it. So seeing me and then knowing what's going to happen to me soon after, that's what got me. And that's why I was like frozen and like just being like, holy crap. Because I never really acknowledged the me before it. So thinking about like what I wanted to say was hard, because like all I want to say is like, I want to warn her. I want to tell her so she doesn't have to go through all the pain and trauma that I had to go through. And it hurt because I can't. I can't tell her. I can't warn her. And then that's why I don't mind talking about my story, is because, well, sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm talking about this too much. People are just going to like equate this to like, oh, she only talks about her sexual trauma, like da da da. No, because that doesn't define me. I am more than that. And me talking about it allows other people to feel the strength to talk about it or do what they need to do to like kind of deal with it. Like I'm not going to say names. I was talking to someone after it, and they told me that they were going through something like that, and they didn't know how to talk about it, and they don't feel the strength to talk about it, but they talked to me, and they were thankful because they were like, thank you for talking about it, because that's pushing me in the right direction to talk to somebody about it. So they weren't ready to talk about it, but they know in time they're going to be. So seeing someone like me who's able to talk about it now and not let it control me or define me, she knows, or he knows, or they know that they're going to get to that point sometime. That they're going to get to a point where like it's not controlling them, it's not feeding into the negativity or negative view that they have of themselves. So that's why I don't mind talking about it. And so that's, looking at that picture, I was just like, it threw me off. It made me like just freeze and all that. But like talking about this with Temper Tantrum, like all that, and like after, I was just finally able to like, there was something in me that kind of like settled. Like maybe there's like this subconscious part of me that wasn't over a certain part of it. But after I saw the photo and after I talked about it, I just felt settled and I just felt more at peace with myself and my history. So, yay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point, right? Like, once you call it what it is, it gets easier to say it. And there's more empowerment behind it the more you say it, not only to other people, but to yourself, of like, yeah, this is what this is. Instead of like, this is what this is. It's like, this is what this is. This is what this is. This is what it is. And it gets easier and easier and easier. So now you're releasing all like the kind of emotions to it. You're not ignoring it. You're not saying it didn't happen. No, it happened. Okay, and this is where I am now. Because that was over here, and now I'm over here. So, so I think that was really, that particular activity was strong, very powerful. I challenge you as viewers and listeners and followers, try it. Try it with a friend. Just and it sounds so simple. It sounds so easy. It is. Try it. Go with your friend, get a baby picture, send it to each other, and be like, cool, take a minute, look at this picture. What advice can you give this person? Right? And you're going to find out things about that other person that you never knew. Even the person, that one you're like, oh, I've known each other for like 10 years. You're going to hear things that you never knew about that person, even though you've known them for 10 years, if they're really, truly doing the job right. And if you can't find someone, do it with yourself. Take your baby picture and talk to yourself. And just be like, yo, this and this and this. I mean, I was like, again, I struggle. You pointed it out earlier. I struggle. I hate crying. So I told you earlier, I feel for other people and hate my own emotions. So when I saw my partner crying, and I don't mean like this is really hard. I mean like crying, like bawling. I was like, my baby is hurting, and I'm hurting because my baby's hurting, and I don't want to show weakness by crying. But that's my background. It's like, oh, weakness is crying, right? So, but that's me. You guys can cry, but not me. So I was like, don't cry, because if I don't cry, then I'm gonna be the rock for this person right here, and I gotta be the rock for this person, so I can't cry. So I was literally like holding the picture. I was holding the picture and like,
yeah.
I was literally looking away like, okay, if I look up, it'll go back in the tear ducts. It'll look up. So I was like, if I look down, it's going to roll down. I was like, okay. So I was like,
like every time I stopped crying, I turned and I saw someone else. I'm like, oh, no.
yeah,
no,
right.
Here
It's just
it
a
comes.
cat.
I was just like watching everyone like, yeah, be in it. Brandon.
No. So
I was like, just let go. Brandon.
No.
Let go.
No.
Let go.
Let it go.
And it was just like he fucking water blast. No.
Anime water.
Yes, Jackie.
Yeah. So that's how I kind of did it. But that's my own personal thing, right? So the whole point is to learn about yourself and the other person, whether that's faults in yourself, whether that's the strengths in yourself. That's the whole point of it, right? And then eventually, the more you talk about things, those faults will become your strengths, and that's kind of the whole point of inner growth.
Yeah, and then just really finding that you really have the answer within you already.
Yeah.
So, but like more often than not, we rely too often on external validation to know that to feel like we're right.
We're weird.
So yeah.
External validation.
I think the last activity we did was over the line, which is probably one of my favorite activities. Just simple team building, and it's to lift the energy back up and to see everyone work together. I had thought you at least you two have done it already?
No.
I did it.
So I know you did. So I was surprised. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
No,
but how
you're
we
young.
d-
Why?
but but how we did it was completely different, and it was basically unattainable. They put the
Oh, that's right.
if you guys don't know how it is, it's like there's like a line of like a rope or something, and the goal is to get from one side to the other without touching the rope. And the
Over.
touching the you have to get from one side to the other over it.
Over the line.
Don't go over there.
Yeah.
Over. And the goal is to use teamwork to help each other get over. One of my past retreats, it was kind of a retreat, but not really. Instead of the line being like, oh, at a distance, like maybe at my waist, it was like at my chin. I'm like,
That's really high.
That's incredibly.
and we didn't have the space that we did. We had about maybe this much space for the thing, maybe a little more narrow, but like this much space.
Duh.
But for
Duh.
But for the first time I did it, it was very small. Some of the ground wasn't carpet. It was like hardwood.
Sick.
And there was couches in the way that we couldn't move. So it was a very small space. And we're just
dangerous.
like, we didn't win. We didn't get past it.
Yeah.
It took us, 20 minutes for Temper Tantrum? It was an hour and we still couldn't do it.
Well, we did have a concussion.
Minimal
We did have
casualties.
someone
Minimal
get
casualties.
someone get yeeted.
Yeah, we did yeet somebody over, and they're like, "I got it."
Tabasco, God bless your soul for trying to save her.
We got over.
Oh, I got hit in the face. I was like, I just walked
one
away.
concussion. That's
Yeah.
fine.
So I think to that it shows the importance of like if you're going to be a leader and you're going to have your team work together on something, set them up to win.
Yeah.
Don't give them such an impossible task. So like if anything, if there's a goal, maybe adjust to their capabilities. I mean, it's like not so much because it goes back to like working with the dancers' capabilities. You're going to push them to do breaking immediately on their first, and they only have 3 rehearsals to get it together. That sounds like unless they're
Yikes.
doing that, yeah, it's a really just making sure that they're set up to win. And what I liked about it, and yeah, you guys had 20 minutes. It's probably the most fuck ups I've ever seen in this game. The most recklessness I've ever seen. Is normal.
To be fair,
Like-
you gave us handicaps like every now and then.
Yeah, I did. I gave them handicaps too.
I didn't.
These
But
other
while we
people.
played, we didn't do this. I didn't know
Okay.
that.
So like,
So to talk a little bit more about that, one of the things was yes, we did have a lot of times where we did touch the rope. However, because a lot of us were on that same vibe of like, all right, we fucked up, let's do it again, let's do it
Yeah.
again, let's do it again, let's do it again, and like giving ourselves more opportunities to try different things is what allowed us to get over the line.
yeah, that's what I loved because it's like it shows that everyone has ideas. Let's try it. Let's try it.
Yes.
Oh, Eddie can yeet Koki.
Koki can yeet himself.
Yeah,
Crystal
yeah,
can yeet herself.
Yeah.
Joey did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Joey.
it
At
shows-
the end.
At the end, and I saw it. I was like, Joey, why did you do that at the beginning?
I think it was just out of like, let's just try it. And then he just amazing hitch kick, and I'm like,
It's yeah. It's like one of those things. Like we couldn't use that in the beginning.
yeah.
Like, but then the teamwork was fantastic because normally other people they're like they get prude and they get hyper aware of the time. They start just being
Yeah.
very careful in touching it. But then it just got to the point like, all right, we're just gonna keep doing this.
Yeah.
All right, let's try it again.
Let's do it. We
Let's-
have more time.
and
Let's try it again.
The enthusiasm to keep trying it again was amazing.
It's like,
So-
okay,
Oh,
half you
man.
guys are over. Okay, the other half, eyes closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or when you would say like, I'm gonna give you handicap.
Yeah, and this is the first group, and I said this in the Newbie podcast, the first group that had very outspoken and very strong women. And
Yeah.
I admired that a lot. I'm like, hell yeah. 'Cause normally, all the previous ones, there's normally very loud dudes just being like, yeah, no, your idea is no. And they try to stick to one strategy. So I'm like, all right, guys, be quiet, women talk. So.
Well, I
Actually,
mean,
Can
So,
I?
they got their
comment?
ideas from the men, so it's fine. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow!
I was gonna say,
I'm
well,
just kidding.
can you talk a little bit about your experience as to maybe why you felt like safe to be a little more outspoken?
With this group?
Yeah, just in general. Yeah. Or with this group, yeah.
Well, with this group, I was able to trust everyone better than other people like I've done this activity with, and it was actually like the first time I did it, everyone got annoyed, everyone got like impatient. We're like, can you just like hurry the fuck up? Let's go. This time we actually talked to each other instead of at each other,
Mm.
and that's what really helped me listen and trust. And like, I'm so used to, I don't know, like, 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 I don't know, hearing people like, oh, let's try this. No, let's not do that. Or they give me like their eye roll, like, no, we're not doing that. This one, we actually talked and we listened. There wasn't like, no, the idea's stupid. Like, oh, it was more like, we can try this, okay? We actually listened to each other. So I was just like,
Yeah.
is this teamwork?
Is this teamwork?
Yes.
Is this
Yeah.
a good team?
No,
Is
it's
this
not
a
a good
good
team. It's a great company.
Yeah.
I was about to say, just
But we're
don't
not family.
Just don't say the F word.
The family
Family.
business.
Yeah.
Oh,
Family
God.
business.
Yeah,
Someone who has his first dance team named Family Business.
But I'm just trying to avoid the whole, corporate cringe of like,
Mm.
oh, we welcome to the family, and you barely know them yet.
Yeah.
So
like,
I-
there's how many departments here?
So if
New
there, so
family.
Yeah.
so if it's gonna be called family, it's because you feel like it's earned that in your eyes, not just because I'm imposing it's a family.
Well, I appreciate how you brought up like the women were more outspoken, because it's very nice to be around, to be somewhere safe where you feel like your opinion matters, especially as a woman.
Mhm.
Like there are, I mean, you were talking about like, yeah, a bunch of dudes are just like, yeah, no, let's do da, da, da. Or like,
Yeah.
it's very, especially in the dance community, it's very male driven. I've been very thankful enough to be led by women and women of color. So, like, I think just that experience alone has let me, or has validated myself as a woman of color in spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, so when you mentioned like, oh my god, that like threw me off when I said he's still talking. Let's go. He hasn't given us the handicap yet.
Like,
I was the same way.
Like, I think
I was the same way. I was like, go.
like, but it's nice, and that in itself was nice to feel empowered to do that and be in a space where I felt empowered to do that. But I will give my credit where credit is due, is that I've been led by women of color who have stood unapologetically and as themselves. So, gang.
That's true, because like I talk about this in my lectures for the grad students. It's great that there's a first,
Mm-hmm.
but is it great that there's a first? Like for instance, they're like, oh yeah, we were first female vice president. I'm like, were females not around before? Like, why? I mean, yes, that I'm happy that it's the first, but it's 2022. Like, congrats. Or they're
You'd
like,
be
oh,
surprised.
it's the first like black this or the first gay that, and it's like, yay! I think it's like, I mean, it's cool. Obviously, take the wins when we can,
Yes.
but it's like that shouldn't be a thing. Like we should definitely make this a common thing to have
Yes.
like.
It is the first. Let's make it common now.
Yeah. So I agree with you on that. So that translates across everything. You're talking about dance, but this is the workplace. This is government,
Yes,
clearly.
government,
So things
yes.
like that, it trickles down.
Stop pushing your left wing agenda. I'm just kidding.
Oh my
I'm
gosh,
just-
you know
I'm
me.
just trolling.
You know those LGBT people pushing their agenda.
No.
Rainbows. Gay agenda. Rainbows.
Maybe that'll be the next topic.
The one question: how has the retreat kind of made you more excited, if not, for any upcoming projects, or has the retreat impacted you? How you feel about the company, or in general?
So this retreat, man, it was very wholesome. I won't lie, it was very wholesome. And even though we didn't really talk about it, after all of our activities, what we did was like freestyle. And
Oh my god! Yeah.
we freestyled literally for like 9 hours straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like, but in a, like, it was very, I feel like we were able to get to that point of being so vulnerable with each other and with our dance because of all of the activities that led up to that. So I think taking away from that, or like going off of that, now I feel even if I don't like talk to any of the company members like immediately after, like I still feel this really strong emotional connection, and I feel a lot of emotional trust with a lot of people. So I'm taking that away. So thanks, guys. Love you. Gang, gang.
I also love how when the freestyling's happened, it was all like upbeat, happy, and as the night progressed, it got more sad, emotional,
Yeah.
dramatic.
Emo tantrum.
Emo
Tantrum.
Essentially, yeah.
And then we had that challenge by Ren and Emma at the end where they chose the song for us.
Yeah.
And that
was
was
fun.
that was
Yeah.
a lot of fun because that was an eclectic version of like any kind of music, and it was like, this is nice and challenging.
Gang, gang.
I feel like I know my dancers more on many levels. And as usual, I feel myself, but I also feel like everybody else have more connections than dance with each other.
Mhm.
You know, it's not like, oh, you're a dancer, I'm a dancer. It's like,
Very surface level.
you know, it's
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
deeper, like, hey, I went through the same trauma you went through, and I feel you. And I think it's the perfect example of like, we always think we suffer alone. Like, no one knows what I'm going through. It's like, actually, a lot of people know what you're going through, and they're probably going through it right now. You know, so it helps to speak out and just say certain things because it makes things so much more meaningful and deep. So I feel very much so connected to my dancers now. And I also feel like we feel full now. And when I say that, it's been hard because of COVID, right? We've been missing that like interpersonal relationship with each other because we haven't had the time to be like, let's go to rehearsal and then all go to dinner after. It's like, actually, let's get a COVID test and see if we can even do that. And you know, so now it's kind of like we have a moment to actually connect to each other physically instead of on Zoom and do these things, you know, these types of things and really get, you know, into the nitty gritty. And although it's been 2 years, I think this one trip fulfilled that empty spot, if that makes sense.
It makes, well, what definitely excited me about the whole thing is the openness that everyone brought, because just leading previous teams, and I'm pretty sure you guys have experienced this as well, there's always sometimes that one person that's like, whatever. And they kind of like can easily, that one thing can easily be cancerous to the whole group. And it removes the immersion, can fuck up the chemistry. And then I saw none of that. There was like, if anything, if there was any sort of skepticalness, it seemed by the end of it, people were more open and bought in and just and more connected in some shape or form. And it just makes me excited for the other projects, especially like the other things that we can do as a group. For example, the parents of the group doing a parent tantrum thing, or people who do contemporary can do that. So there's a lot of things that we can do, and it's for me when it comes to the team, it's just we are sharing this time with each other, in which we don't get back. You know, with the second that's gone, it belongs to death. We don't get it back. So I want to make sure that the people that we're with, it's Stoic philosophy, memento mori. So, like, if the people that we're with, I want to make sure that we have a good experience with each other. No matter if it's like we see each other in a month and we do a podcast like this, or we do another performance, we do another video, that we have. I want us to have that deep connection with each other whenever we're doing something. Yeah, that's it. If you guys like this podcast, give it a thumbs up and everything. Give everyone here a follow and love. Make sure, I don't know, get some cat sweets. I don't know. Do all the things. Follow us on Patreon. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Love you guys.